Hey gang, welcome back to another Transition Tuesday webinar. This is going to be a fun one. I'm blessed to have my good friend Thomas Hutton with us. Thomas ended his career and has done so much with the Ranger Regiment. Hey Tom, thanks for joining us tonight. I truly appreciate you, buddy.
It's an honor and a pleasure, and I appreciate the invite to come on, join the podcast, and find more ways to give back.
Well, and so what we're going to do tonight is going to be talking education. So let's just get, let's not bury the lead. Like, why are you so passionate about this idea of finance and education, making sure that folks don't leave a stone unturned to get to where they want to be?
Well, so one, I never expected to graduate. I had, when I was before joining the Army, I had this idea where I wanted to go to psychology. I had a huge psychological background. I read the DSM-4 like cover to cover when I was 16. Horrible read, by the way.
You're a nerd, by the way. You're just screaming.
A little bit, yeah.
Saying nerd.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a nerd on certain things, right? When it comes, if there's something that I can learn to make life better for other people, I will nerd out on that 100%. But due to life choices, I no chance on that. So I joined the Army and found the Army to be made me more of who I was already going to be. It was great. Super blessing. Found my way to the Ranger Regiment. There is no organization that will ever match the professionalism and amazingness and purpose that the Ranger Regiment has. I firmly don't believe it. And I firmly believe it. Now, I also never expected to go to college at all. That was the furthest thing from my life. I had a kind of mentor at the time who was like, you're just going to go register for college. So I did. And that was 2014. I graduated with my undergrad in 2023, to let you know the effort I put into it.
Not necessarily fast track.
Yeah, definitely not. It was more of the fact of, if I'm going to say it's important for my guys to do it, then I have to build a wall. I'm a firm believer of never asking somebody to do something that you haven't done, won't do, or can't do. You got to be able to do that, right? And then obviously certain jobs made it harder. It's really hard to go to school while you're a platoon sergeant. Understandable, right? First sergeant, you gotta take care of your guys. So that becomes a thing. But what I found, and this goes to one of my mentors, Ray Perez, that we, especially in the enlisted, we self-select out of things. We don't think that it's possible or a thing. Business school was the furthest thing from my mind. And he sat down and literally spent 3 hours of his day to just change my life. And then being super blessed to work with Carrie and the rest of the Phalanx team, understood so much more of the importance of that, one, that it's possible, and that it when you are looking at doing something, we as veterans, especially in the soft community, are going to outperform everybody we work with. We are going to work harder. We honestly are. It's built into who we are. But how do you get a seat at the table? How do you get that entry point to show that you can do those things? Well, a college degree is, in the civilian world, or certain certifications is a thing. But for me, I gave my GI Bill to my kids because that was a re-enlistment thing. We encourage all those things. And there's a cost of education. It's massively increased. It's drastic. One of my classmates, and he said this in the best way possible, offhanded. He was like, I'm paying $170,000+ for this education. You're getting it for free. And he was he paused for a second. Yeah, he paused for a second. Not in a bad way. He paused for a second because he realized how bad it sounded. And I'm laughing the whole time. I thought it was hilarious because he's a great dude. Phenomenal. Him and his wife are both in the program. They're great human beings. And he was like, but you deserve it. And I was like, yeah, I know. We're good. I get that. I know. And I firmly believe that I think this is for anybody who has spent a lot of time in the GWAT. Most of us would give back all of our benefits to have our friends back.
Oh, sure.
100%. Heartbeat, right? So because of that, it reduces that opportunity cost to literally change our stars. When I tell people that I'm about to graduate from Fuqua School of Business, it blows people's minds because it opens doors. So with that cost of having to do so, with also the reenlistment aspect, like that we talk about for the GI Bill, all of these other things, for us, it seems, coming from the military, especially, we don't make a lot. We are more price sensitive on things, and we self-select. We don't think. I had a lot of anxiety during my self-imposed anxiety during my MBA search and journey for that. To where my wife literally called me. She said I was being a specific word, and I should just make up my mind and stop being a baby, which was great. And you've met Anne, so you get that, right? So the reason why it's so important is it costs a lot of resources. It's resources we don't generally think about, and we have entitlements that do make it easy, but there's a cost with that. And what we don't realize is there's a lot of other programs between nonprofits. There's many people that are willing to give back to the veteran community. There's nobody in my program that has any ill will. Like literally the entire program is supportive of everybody, right? So when you think about doing something like an MBA or a law degree or these things that coming from the enlisted side, especially in infantry, where we hear this statement that infantry doesn't give you the skills to be successful in the civilian world, or combat arms doesn't translate, which is a falsity. Every time I hear that, drives me nuts, because there's nothing I've learned in business school from a top program that was like world breaking. Like nothing blew my mind. There's some stuff I didn't have experience with, but a lot of the things we do in the Army translates. You just got to know how it translates and like the frame of reference and gain the experience. And where do you do that? Like, where's the easy way to do that without the cost or the pressure of a business going under? Well, you go to school, and that gives you a controlled environment to learn the skills and gain some of the experience to bridge that gap, which is why I think it's phenomenal for us to do. And with these things, if like my kids are going to be able to still like have an easier time to go to school for when they're older, right? I'm changing my life from a top tier MBA program that I never thought I would be in. And it's empowering. It's awesome. There's so many people I've talked to in the Phalanx program when I was the Phalanx NCO, and since then as a veteran mentor, that literally never thought they could go to business school. And if you care about leadership, you want to make others better. You want to give back, and that's where I take on that. And the biggest thing that we've failed to like realize for success in life is that we self-select ourselves out of greatness. We have the ability to change the world. Everybody does. When you're talking about entrepreneurship or doing things, most people say they're going to do something and just don't do it. And how do you make that easier? You lower the barrier to entry. You understand other avenues of support, so that the cost to do so, especially from us that are price sensitive, because I've net like so many of my classmates make so much more than I've ever made in my life, right? Because they're super successful. But there's nothing to say that I wouldn't, if I was in the civilian world, never joined the Army. I might not have matured as fast as I did, right? Because that's the nature of the Army. But you can't tell me that I wouldn't be successful in being on that route. So many people in the military are. I mean, we've got Olympic level athletes. We've got former like entrepreneurs. We've got Rangers that run their own businesses. We've got Rangers that could go run Fortune 500 companies, but they choose to, right? And there's former Rangers that do, right? But we choose to serve the greatest country in the universe. We choose to serve in the military, protect and defend the country, right? So that's an aspect that gives us benefits, and most people don't know how to use it or leverage it appropriately to maximize their return. And that's where I've become so passionate about it, because if you have the information, you can make informed decisions. And those informed decisions allow you to change, to quote a movie from Heath Ledger, like one of his movies that my wife used to love watching, but change your stars. You can go change your stars and change your life and go make a greater impact in the world through good, ethical, value-based business. And when we're coming to talk about the MBA program, we are very valuable. We bring leadership, we bring work ethic, timelines, prioritization, understanding of that, right? We bring that most people don't have the experience to do. In the military, we teach and expect 20-year-olds to be mentors, leaders, brothers, sisters, fathers, mothers, life coaches for 19-year-old kids. You don't find that anywhere else in the world, anywhere, any other job. And the most desirable for an MBA program specifically, the most sought after trait and skill developed in the MBA program is leadership. And nothing against leadership that you're going to teach. Most veterans are not going to learn something new about leadership when they go through an MBA program. Why? Because you've lived it from day one. We coming out of the Ranger Regiment have a doctorate level of leadership compared to most people. What I would expect out of a tab spec 4 is the same level of leadership and emphasis and intentionality that most people say is the gold standard in the civilian world. And we also understand how to show up every day, be ready to work. We're grateful to be here. We are humble, and we don't like to just rest on our laurels. We don't want to not prove that we belong. And we usually, with our own belief that we don't relate to business or whatever reasons, we self-select. And I almost did. I literally had a point where I did not think I would ever get into I applied to Booth, Fuqua, and Gozetta at Chicago, Duke, and Emory. Didn't think I was going to get into any of them. Got into all three. Had a borderline existential crisis between having to choose between Chicago and Duke. It was crazy, right? And Dana Gingrich, the RXO at the time, laughed at me when he was writing all my recommendations, because he wrote them all. Super supportive of all three. And he laughed at me. It's like, I don't know why I'm writing the one for Chicago, because you're going to go to Duke anyways. That's literally what he said. Yeah. Right. And he was right, 100%. Because for me, Fuqua is the right thing. And we don't know enough when we're looking at programs, understanding, especially on the MBA route. And the biggest thing I advise people, and this is from lessons learned and my self-induced stress, 100% self-induced stress, is ultimately you find the right program. Because resource-wise, if you go to a top 25-ish program, that's an arbitrary number, right? Then the amount of time and effort you're going to spend in the program and the value that your GI Bill benefits or any other programs, which I'll talk about later, you get the return of your investment. It is worth your time and effort. It's worth the capital of your resources that you're putting into it for the brand, the network, and the experiences that you're going to get. And that makes it worth it. I talked to a Ranger who is now at Ross in the executive MBA program, and he wanted to get his MBA using the Army tuition assistance. And nothing against those programs, but we are better than, we have more to offer in that. The brand of that is still good, great instruction, but isn't going to be worth the amount of effort that he could get through other methods. And I talk to him at least once a month, and it's changed his life. And that is where we have this ability to do so. And we have to get it out of our own head. And because of that, and the fact that, and I will steal this from Ray Perez, if you get all the veterans in the world, like all the U.S. veterans aligned on one task, it's going to be accomplished. If we all agreed on one way to change the world will change because we're all capable of that. And it's teaching and empowering people to achieve greatness. And we can do that. Yes, it's college. And yes, you officers tend to have a little bit better of an understanding of it, but most of us enlisted just don't. We self-select out of that. And what I don't want people to do is to get out and regret getting out. I was always on the mentality that no matter what I would do, if I was going to get out of the military, I was not coming back in because make it worth it. I saw guys get out in my career, want to come back in, not be able to, because you want people to be successful no matter what. If you are a leader, whether they stay in the military, they stay in your unit, leave your unit, you want them to be successful. So that's something that we should encourage for everybody. And that's one of the many things why of what Carrie and the rest of the Phalanx team and all the education counselors do great work with that. And I'm just trying to carry it on because it is that impactful to do so.
Well, let's go with that, Tom, with what you're doing. And I'm going to, put up this graphic. You've been working on some documents and some things, building a network, a network of the willing, really taking a great ranger, like you mentioned, Ray Perez, who I really feel like everything that you just said would be echoed by dozens of other rangers in terms of the impact that man's had. But you, once again, going back and putting together the writing, doing the research, making it practical. Talk about the veteran packet that you have, how that came about, and how to utilize it.
Yeah, so what I was doing, and I'll talk a little bit about my VRNE journey with that. And like I said, I'm a well-read person. I even struggled with a lot of the TAP stuff. Coming out of a first sergeant, retiring and med boarding a lot of senior rangers, like taking care of senior rangers. I had one of my former platoon sergeants out, Alex Torres, coming in and checking in with me as he was getting out. I had Kurt Donaldson, the RSM, doing the same thing. Like blowing my mind that my mentors growing up would come do that same thing, and James Grady coming in and saying, these are the things I'm learning. So I passed a lot of information. And so what I was doing is before I started Phalanx, just started doing this, like this retirement notes email that I started sending out to Rangers. And then going through it, I read the law. I read 793 pages of the 38 CFR Part 21, which is the employment and education legal statute of the VA. And then on top of it, I read the M28C, which is the regulation, like read all of it. I went through it, and this is a true thing, not trying to insult anybody or anything else, but I tried, like there's a program that allows you to apply within 180 days of your ETS. So like, even if you don't have a rating, to get started. Because I'm somebody, if I can do it today, I want to do it today. Why do something tomorrow when you can do it today and make your greater impact today? And that is what I try to live my life with. Not always successful, right? None of us are, because we're not perfect. And I showed up and got denied twice off the bat, saying that I wasn't eligible. Even like printed out the portion of the law and the regulation. Went up to the regional office, was like, hey guys, this is a thing. How do I do it? And the manual was not updated properly. And I found this out later. And then in the process of doing it, once my claim finally hit, the VA assumed, because of all my disabilities, like we've talked about, thought I was med boarding instead of just a regular retirement. So then they try to put me into for the VRNE program, there's two tracks. You're either a normal person or you're med boarding, which requires a little more support because you're not planning to get out, which is understandable. And then I was talking with the regional director for the Georgia office, and his response was, "Nobody's ever asked us to do this, so we don't know how to do it." And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, it's in the regulation. Like, you should be a master of your craft. You should learn that. All the things that we think about in the Army that isn't inherently equal across everybody within the civilian world and within the business and world. So I went through and got through that thing and then got stonewalled. And then, so I'd already been denied 3 times at this point. I had, 4 times, because I had 3 denials previously. I got denied again by my IDAS counselor, who I wasn't supposed to be. And then they literally just waited long enough and stopped answering my questions. And I was in the middle of my MBA program, trying to work on furthering my career and make an impact in the civilian world as I transitioned out. And they just waited. And then once I got my rating in, I got another counselor. And when I first met, right. So I'm on my 3rd counselor at this point. And then I had my meeting with her, and I was like, listen, I've read the law. Here's all the things. I've got my vocational goal, very well prepared. I want to be management counselor, a management consultant, like focusing on strategy, which is why I chose Duke. Focused on healthcare, because at that time I was deciding healthcare, like, at least at the time, is where I want to go, and all this stuff. And her response was, well, we are trying to get you a job as fast as possible, so we don't pay for education, which is a lie. Literally says in the law that they pay for graduate degrees and additional undergrads, all of this stuff. Like, it's in there. And I said, and I like gave her the quotations and like cited everything, even in an email. And she was still, no, we just don't do it. We just don't do it. And what that tells me is that's the same statement I heard in the military so much that I hate, is this is the way we've always done it. And that's usually wrong. Because I remember when I was a first sergeant, going back to 375, and had some young team leaders and young privates saying, first sergeant, this is the way we've always done it. And my response was, no, because 4 years ago, before you got to the Ranger Regiment, I was in 375, and that is not how we always did it, because we did it differently. So don't ever assume that, right? And that's the same concept. And not insulting anybody. There's a lot of good counselors in the VRNE program, and there's a lot of pushback because there was a lot of issues with voc rehab that was being abused, and that's why the program got rewritten in 2018. And I knew, very well articulated, understood what I was doing, built out my case, all this stuff. Like, I did all the research, all the prep, and then I still got denied. My counselor, when I literally like controlled what my packet was, I submitted over 30 documents. My case was determined by 5 documents I submitted to, and then in addition, my denial packet and a job posting that she said I submitted, that I submitted, which means she lied, and for a vocational goal for a job, to apply for a job as a management analyst. And since I was halfway through my MBA program, I was already employable for a management analyst, and I didn't need support for the program. And I get this, right? A business degree is expensive. A law degree is expensive. We don't write the laws. We serve our country. We follow the statutes. We follow the laws. If somebody has a problem with the law, go change it. Go talk to your congressman. Go talk to your congresswoman and your representative or senator. Get it changed. But if you're going to sit there and deny eligible support for the men and women that are willing to make the ultimate sacrifices to defend the country, that's probably a bad look. And it's a great benefit. It helps and it makes it easier to go do things, to go make a huge difference. And she literally lied and committed perjury to deny me the support that I was eligible under the law. And if I'm facing that problem, that means somebody else who doesn't know it is going to have way worse problems. If I know, and when I finally got my fourth counselor, she literally said that she's done this for 5 years, and that I knew more about the program than she did. And I still face denial and all these hurdles. And so what that did is, if I'm going to do something, I was always big on, if I got to say it more than once, I'm going to write a template because I don't want to have to redo everything, be efficient with my time. If I have problems and somebody else is going to have way more problems, I would rather, since I already did all the work and did all the understanding, I'd rather make it easier for somebody else to not have the same problems and not have to do all the work that I did to get approval. So what I did is, with the veteran packet, started building guidelines and essentially an SOP of how to, not to lie, not to be fraudulent or anything else, but how to prevent the systemic fraud and the issues that the VRNE program has had. And there's more, and to be fair, there's way more good counselors that I've talked to or talked to veterans about than there are bad counselors. We just tend to key in on the negativity because of how our brains work. That's why like bad things sell in the news media. That's why everyone's trying to be the first to say something to get the clicks, because controversy and things that are negative, like, they sell clicks. That's what our brain looks at. And there's a lot of veterans that there's a lot of vocational rehabilitation education counselors that do a lot of great work. But the VA has a duty to assist. And what it does is it gives us the opportunity to do things that we would never expect to be able to do, so we can go make a huge difference in the world. I mean, we are now getting, I mean, we have a vice president that was in the Marines, right? Like, we have presidents, politicians, businessmen, the founder of Sports Clips, Army veteran, phenomenal human being. Got to talk to him. He is so smart and so influential and such a great leader. And if we want to help encourage our veterans that they're going to be taken care of, we should do what we say we're going to do. And that's take care of them. And when you have purposeful employment, when your basic needs for your quality of life are met, you're less likely to have issues of homelessness or finding permanent solutions to temporary problems. And we talk about 20 to 22 vets a day. Like, that is a statistic that is horrible to think about. If you look at a lot of the situations that a lot of those vets are in, well, they don't have purposeful employment. They have a lot of stressful things that could be contributed to lack of financial support, somebody not supporting them, trouble with the VA, trouble with losing their network, not feeling connected. And if you don't have something purposeful to do in your day, that goes a long way in preventing yourself from living a well-lived, purposeful life. That is definitely a huge thing, and I'm all about supporting that. And the best way to do so, to bridge the gap and show that you're capable of doing that, is gaining that experience in that controlled environment for that education program that you want to go through, or that technical school, or whether it's a welder, or whether it's a construction management, or an MBA, or a law degree, or a medical degree. Those things, there's more resources that allow it to make it even easier to do. I know veterans who are using their GI Bill and also the VRNE to go be a lawyer and give back to the community because they want to go volunteer to help veterans, right? Be medical doctors, which we have a shortage of. And you talk about individuals who understand the importance and the causality of great medical care and how that affects due to our combat training. That's who you'd want in your office, or running your emergency department, or nurses doing the same thing, right? Like, those are impactful. And those can be life changing because they can save somebody's life. And if we're going to do something and truly care about our veterans, we should push that as much as possible to make sure that they understand what support they have, so that way they can continue on and make a difference in the world just like they did in their service.
Amen, Thomas. Man, I appreciate you. I just want to say thank you for putting this all together in the veteran packet. Once again, anyone can access that with the QR code, and I'll ask you to go to the bottom of our link in our LinkedIn chat there, and we will put the link in there as well to the veteran packets. A lot of great resources. And of course, Tom is always available on LinkedIn. He does serve as one of our Ranger mentors. He gets a ton of our folks who are thinking, is the MBA for me? But it's more than just the MBA. It's anybody who's thinking that they want to do something a little bit more than maybe what they had perceived their background could allow them to achieve. So, Thomas, thank you so much for joining us today. I look forward to seeing you around Columbus, and thank you for the help that you give the Rangers.
It's always a pleasure. It is, whether you're in the Ranger Regiment or not, the fact that you serve means you're worth it. And I will always have a special place in the Ranger Regiment.
Awesome, Thomas. You take care. Best to Ann, and we'll see you around town. And for everyone else, we'll be back next month with another Transition Tuesday webinar. Take care.